It's helping to employ and support, according to one study, over 800,000 jobs. They know that it is reducing the cost of gasoline to consumers by about $2.50 for every barrel of oil that's utilized in gas production. They know that it's better for the environment, reducing emissions, and they know that it helps to stabilize farm income and to create job opportunities in rural places. And it reflects a significant competitor to an oil-based and petroleum-based economy. They also know this industry is now expanding beyond just fuel and energy production to chemicals and other materials. The bio-based industry is now a $369 billion industry that helps to employ 4 million people, and it certainly plays to the strengths of the Midwest. What's happening here is the future, growing additional feedstocks that will allow us to diversify beyond corn-based ethanol to include a variety of other advanced biofuels. The key is for us to continue to encourage market opportunities for biofuels. Today we're announcing a partnership with 21 states, including the state of Illinois, in which we will use $100 million of federal funding to be leveraged with another $100 million from our partners to help expand access to higher blends of ethanol around the country. 21 states will be engaged and involved in expanding and providing assistance to petroleum marketers and to convenience store operators to expand the number of pumping systems that will allow for E15, E85, and higher blends of ethanol. We anticipate and expect with this additional resource that we will see nearly 5,000 additional systems installed, which will more than double the current number, and obviously lead to more utilization of biofuel. This is the right way to approach diversifying and balancing out our energy portfolio. It's the right way to help support not just Midwestern farmers, but farmers all over the United States. It's the right way to make sure consumers have choice and less expensive gas. And it's the right thing for the environment. This is one of many steps that the USDA is taking to help this industry. We've invested over $320 million in research along the lines of what you see here at the University of Illinois. We provide assistance and help to 850 producers to help produce the miscanthus that you see here, camelina, and other possible alternatives for corn-based ethanol. They provide and support for 48,000 acres of these kinds of crops, which are in turn are helping 36 facilities produce new energy and fuel. We've worked with over 300 advanced biofuel companies, providing nearly $285 million of assistance and help. We've helped to finance 9 new biorefineries that are taking everything from municipal waste to perennial grasses like we see here and producing fuel and energy. And we have also invested significantly in developing a series of tools for producers to understand precisely what the feedstock requirements are in 5 biofuel centers, research centers that operate throughout the U.S. This is an aggressive effort on our part. We're going to continue to be supportive of this industry. And today is another step forward for the industry. And I think we'll continue to provide better balance and better service and better options and less expensive fuel costs for American consumers.
Are these blender pumps? Are these straight E15 pumps?
They're blender pumps. They can be blender pumps. They can be 15, they can be 85, they can be whatever works for that particular convenience store or petroleum marketer. The states will work in concert with their operators to provide the assistance, but now there's roughly $200 million that's going to be available. Very encouraged by the reaction to this plan. There were some who were suspicious and suspect that there would be any interest in this program beyond just a few Midwestern states, but the reality is when you're dealing with 21 states, you're dealing with states all across the country. I think Illinois is stationed and is going to get about $12 million. Should help with over 400 new systems within the state of Illinois. One of the larger states to participate in this, ironically, is the state of Texas, which indicates, I think, shows you the power of this plan.
Do you need to work with the EPA at all then to move that advisement that E15 should only be used in cars 2001 newer? Well, the ethanol industry really quibbles with.
The EPA has its responsibilities, and we certainly aren't going to get in their lane, so to speak. We're just going to continue to be a supporter for this industry and provide the financial resources, the technical resources, the research. We're also trying to expand market opportunities. Mention was made of sorghum here. The reality is that China is now purchasing a lot of sorghum, and they are also purchasing a byproduct of ethanol production, the DDGs, which is a supplement, a feed supplement that's quite effective for livestock. China now purchasing a substantial amount of DDGs, so the export market there is the strongest it's been in quite a while. We're also looking at ways in which we can expand it beyond just trucks and cars. The reality is that 40 airports in this country sell 90% of all the jet fuel, and I think there are tremendous opportunities for us to use biofuel for commercial aviation and for the Defense Department. We're also helping to work with the Department of Energy and the Navy. They have a goal of producing 50% or using 50% of their fuel being bio-based, and we want to help them get to that point to purchase blended fuel and ultimately to get drop-in aviation and marine fuel. There's just unlimited opportunity here. So EPA is obviously going to do what they're going to do. They're going to base it on the best available science. We're going to continue to look for ways to refresh that science when appropriate, but most importantly, we're going to be standing shoulder to shoulder with the industry to make sure that they have the support they need, and to sort of push back on this notion that somehow gas prices are going to go through the roof, which is just preposterous.
Corn-based ethanol generally is not considered an advanced biofuel. Does this work differently in the RFS process?
Well, this supplements the corn-based ethanol and basically deals with and advances the notion of advanced biofuel that's contained within the RFS. There are goals and standards for renewable fuel and advanced biofuel, and certainly this cellulosic ethanol production would help meet those standards and those goals. Bottom line is to sell more biofuel. Bottom line is to produce more biofuel. The bottom line is to protect the environment, provide consumer choice, and add jobs and stabilize farm income. And that can certainly happen with the crops that are being grown here.
How long will the resources you're announcing today last, and what's the sustainability plan when things like technology changes again?
Well, the resources will be made available as soon as contracts are signed with the respective states, and then it'll be up to the states to disperse the resources. So depending upon the amount of time it takes for them to identify partners, there are a couple of stores that are already aggressively pursuing this. Come and Go Sheets, for example, are two stores that are operating in 17 states that have really made a commitment. So my guess is that they're probably teed up in those 17 states to take advantage of this. So it may take a little time for all the resources to be used, but the fact that this is now available, the fact that states have programs to promote it, I think we'll see accelerated use. In terms of the technology is going to advance, but what's going to advance is not the pumping systems and distribution systems as much as how you produce the fuel more efficiently, and that's not going to impact and affect the appropriateness of this program.
Can you give us a preview of your speech today here a little bit later at the U of I, and what are you going to address with research and dollars to go to support international food security?
Well, international food security is a very complicated issue that's going to take me all of the time that they've allotted to me to explain to the students basically how we're engaged and involved in this. But let me say something about the University of Illinois. One of the things that struck me as I reviewed all of the materials that were provided to me last night is how many intersections there are with what the U of I is doing. It's not just research. It's also extension and getting that information out into the countryside. So the work that they're doing with soybeans in Africa, extremely important. It's not just producing more food, it's also making sure the food is stored properly. And so they have a harvest loss program here at the University of Illinois that addresses that part of the equation. It's not just producing and storing, but it's also marketing and data that allows you to establish appropriate markets. The University of Illinois is involved in that. It's research in terms of new crop varieties, obviously. The University of Illinois is involved doing some good work with dairy, doing some good work on genetics, which is important. It's also food waste and trying to eliminate the amount of food waste that occurs not just in terms of storage, but also in terms of developing countries and developed countries. So they have a food waste initiative. So it's a wide variety of things are involved. University of Illinois is deeply involved in our Feed the Future initiative, which is designed to get information out to farmers in developing countries. It's designed to provide nutrition assistance to children in those countries. So there's a connection, and it's designed to provide relationships between researchers in those countries and here. And we're going to continue to be a strong partner with the University of Illinois and many of our land-grant universities across the U.S. And the bottom line of this is that this is an exciting time to be involved in agriculture. It's an exciting time and a challenging time. Food security is not just a growing population, not just increased production, but it's also in the context of a changing climate. So we'll talk a little bit about climate change and the work that agriculture needs to do to reduce emissions and to prepare itself to adapt and mitigate the changes in climate. Not everything that's grown today here will continue to be grown in the future, and that's why it's important to have universities doing the research that you all are doing here so that we're prepared for that future.
The $12 million coming to Illinois, is that from the $100 million federal dollars?
Yep.
Okay.
Roughly 12 million. The contracts have not yet been totally finalized, so I can't give you an exact number, but it's roughly $12 million. All right?
ARC and PLC payments are going to be about $4 billion this year, $7 billion next year, according to some numbers that were discussed with House Ag staff last week at Farm Progress. That's going to outpace direct payments that normally would have been there. Any concern about how that program has been reformulated under the new Farm Bill and some initial higher expenses?
Well, I'm not sure what those numbers are based on because I'm not sure that we actually, at this point in time, know precisely. What we do know is this, that these payments, unfortunately, are going to be subject to sequester. That's the budget gimmick that Congress adopted to essentially try to control a budget, which is not working particularly well because it creates a situation now where if you're a farmer and you go into your local office and you sign up your contract for ARC and PLC payments before September 30th, theoretically your payment could be cut by 7.3% based on sequester. But if you wait a little bit, go after the 1st of October into that same office, that same crop, same farmer, different farm, sign up for a different program, ARC and PLC, those payments will be reduced by 6.8%. It's the ridiculousness of sequester that creates this inequity. So we're trying to address this inequity by making sure we try to treat farmers similarly situated in a similar and equitable way. But what it does is underscores the need to get rid of sequester. That is not the right way to contain government spending, and the right way is to do it in a thoughtful, priority-setting basis, not across the board the way sequester. And hopefully Congress understands that, appreciates that, so when they get down to business and really get serious about the budget at some point in time, they'll recognize the problem with this.
What are farmers supposed to do then? Should they wait to sign up, or they should go in by the?
Well, I don't think they know, and I can't give them good advice. I think they just need to sign up, and then they need to hope that we, USDA and Congress, and everyone involved in this process understands the importance of treating people in the countryside fairly and equitably. That's certainly the goal that I have. Whether it's shared by everybody else, I don't know yet, but we're acquainting people with the challenge and the problem that sequester creates, suggesting that sequester is a bad policy and needs to be eliminated. At USDA, we're operating with an operating budget that's less than it was when I became secretary. So this is not a situation where we have been spending great sums of money. You ask about the ARC and PLC program, it's working the way it's supposed to. When crop prices are not as strong as they once were, it's there to provide help and assistance to make sure we keep people on the farm.
Okay, and I think we're just out of time.
Okay.